They say pressure reveals character, but that's not entirely true. Pressure doesn't reveal character. It reveals preparation. It exposes a difference between those who were pretending and those who were prepared, between those who were rehearsing power and those who had become it. Pressure is a spotlight. It blinds the ungrounded. It melts the ones built on sand. But the ones who stand still when the storm hits, the ones who hold their gaze when the world tries to shake them, they are not surprised by the chaos. They were forged for it. Because the truth is, life isn't about avoiding pressure. It's about building something that doesn't flinch when it arrives. It's about creating a foundation so deep, so disciplined, so aligned, that no demand, no betrayal, no noise, no loss can collapse you. But you don't build that kind of life by accident. You build it with clarity. You build it by deciding who you are. Before the test begins, Carl Jung said, in each of us there is another whom we do not know. And when pressure hits, that unknown self takes the wheel. The unconscious takes the stage. All the patterns you thought you healed, all the lies you still believe, they rise. And if you haven't done the inner work to confront them, you won't rise with the pressure. You'll collapse under it. So you start now, not by building something big, but by building something true. Start with your word. Start with your mornings. Start with the choices no one sees. Because that's where pressure will find you. In the dark, in the quiet, in the stillness, where nothing but your habits speak for you. A strong life is not a loud one. It's stable. And stability comes from repetition, from doing the hard things daily without the spotlight, from not needing to be watched to stay committed. Most people flinch under pressure because they've built their identity on outcomes, not on essence. They've built their worth on performance, not on principle. And when the outcome fails, so do they. But if you build from essence, if you build from something eternal, you cannot be broken, only revealed. And the essence begins with syphoria, that state of total inner coherence, where who you say you are matches what you do, where your thoughts, your habits, your goals, your emotions, they converge instead of collide. That's when your soul becomes a sword, sharp, focused, unshakable. But you can't fake coherence. You have to earn it. You have to become someone whose entire nervous system is trained to stay calm when others panic. Someone who walks into a crisis and breathes deeper, not because they're fearless, but because they know exactly who they are inside the fire. You don't build that identity in theory. You build it in repetition, in decisions that feel small, but are actually sacred. Like getting up when you don't want to, like speaking the truth when silence would be easier, like saying no when your body aches to please, like holding the standard when no one else around you has one. That's how you build pressure-proof living, by becoming predictable to yourself, by knowing that no matter what the world throws at you, you won't betray your principles to survive it. Because survival is not the goal. Integration is. A mind that collapses under stress is a mind that was never trained to handle weight. So train your focus, train your solitude, train your silence. Because pressure isn't coming. It's already here. In the distractions, in the decisions, in the quiet war inside you that says, just this once, compromise. Just this once, don't show up. Just this once lower the bar. But every just this once becomes a pattern. And every pattern becomes your identity. And your identity builds or breaks the life you live inside. So you choose differently. You look pressure in the eye and say, I've met myself already. You're not introducing me to anything new. You're just revealing what I trained for. That kind of life doesn't beg for mercy. It doesn't search for balance in the chaos. It becomes the balance. It walks through fire with stillness in its bones. You want to be unstoppable? Build a mind that doesn't chase dopamine. It chases discipline. Build a soul that doesn't collapse in loneliness. It creates in it. Build habits that don't depend on applause. They depend on alignment. Because the only difference between the ones who fall and the ones who rise is how they meet pressure. Not if, how. And pressure isn't just external. It's internal. It's the pressure of potential. The pressure of knowing you were built for more, but watching yourself delay it. Every single day, that pressure is heavier than any bill, any betrayal, any outside demand. It's the weight of an unlived life, and you either carry it with intention or it carries you into regret. So act now, not tomorrow, not when it's convenient. Now, start by defining your code. What do you not tolerate anymore? Where will you never fall again? Who are you when no one's watching? And pressure is the only thing knocking? Because that is the test. That is the crucible. And if you pass it, not once, but daily, you become bulletproof. You don't flinch when the bill comes. You don't flinch when the room gets cold. You don't flinch when they leave. Because you already faced the inner abandonment and won. That is how you build a life that holds under pressure. You stop needing things to go right. You stop hoping everything will stay calm. You build your peace on chaos. You build your routine in fire. You build your greatness on grit. You want legacy? Then build lungs strong enough to breathe. When the oxygen gets thin, build a spine that doesn't fold for trends. Build rituals that don't vanish when you're tired. Because tired is not an excuse. Tired is your teacher. And pressure is your invitation to either retreat or rise. Because the ones who rise don't do it with perfect timing. They do it with perfect commitment. Not to comfort, but to becoming. Not to ease, but to alignment. Not to what feels good, but to what makes them stronger. And strength is not measured by how much you lift in the gym. It's measured by how much truth you carry without folding under its weight. It's measured by how often you tell yourself no in the service of a bigger yes. It's measured by how little you need from the outside world to stay loyal to your internal compass. Because that compass, it doesn't point north. It points inward. And most people are terrified of looking there. Terrified of meeting the parts of themselves that never evolved past fear. The unhealed voice that still panics under pressure. The scared child who still believes that being abandoned by others means they must abandon themselves. But when you confront that voice, when you stare it down without flinching, you realize something. It's not pressure that's hurting you. It's the stories you're telling yourself inside of it. It's a narrative that says you have to break here, that you're not enough yet, that the moment is too big, too loud, too heavy. So rewrite the story. Write it in blood and breath and discipline. Write it in the hours no one sees. Write it in the silence, where your choices carve character. Like a blade through stone, you don't need to move faster. You need to move truer, more rooted, more convicted, more obsessed with integrity than image. Because pressure doesn't respond to performance. It responds to presence. And presence comes from knowing you've done the work, from knowing your foundation is made of something that can't be bought, only forged. You want to be a storm? Then learn to stand still when the winds rise. Because the storm doesn't panic. It commands. It doesn't ask for validation. It moves things by existing. And you were built to be that. Not a leaf, not a feather, a force. But you forgot. You've been taught to stay light, to stay likable, to be flexible in all the wrong places. They call it maturity. They called it balance. But what they really meant was, please stay small so you don't make us uncomfortable. And you obeyed for years. But you're done now. Done flinching. Done filtering. Done folding every time life applies pressure. Because you've remembered your spine is your signature. And your life will only rise to the level of your standards. Not the ones you write down. The ones you enforce under fire. You want clarity? Say no more often. You want power? Keep your word, especially to yourself. You want peace? Stop lying. Stop saying yes when you mean no. Stop showing up as half of yourself and expecting to feel whole. This is how you build under pressure. You stop waiting to feel ready. You become ready by becoming reliable. Because if you can't count on yourself in the storm, you're not free. You're fragile. And freedom doesn't come from the absence of difficulty. It comes from the presence of inner certainty in the face of chaos. You want to build a life that doesn't flinch. Build it like a cathedral. Built for silence. Built for awe. Built to last through wars, winds, and centuries of noise. And that means you lay every brick with intention. No shortcuts. No substitutions. No fake ceilings. Just structure. Just honesty. Just the hard truth of knowing that your peace will come from the hardest decisions you ever make. Decisions like walking away, like letting go, like starting again with better principles, like finally deciding that being seen as nice isn't worth being weak. Because you weren't built for fragile love, fragile thinking, fragile purpose. You were built to hold things, weight, vision, truth, fire. You want to lead? Then lead yourself when you're tired, when you're doubted, when you're grieving, when no one claps, when everything around you whispers, lower your standards and just survive. You answer, I wasn't built to survive. I was built to stand. I was built to rise. I was built to carry truth like a crown, not a burden. And in that moment, pressure no longer owns you. It becomes your mirror. It becomes your gym. It becomes your initiation. Because once you build a life that doesn't flinch, you stop living on defense. You stop reacting. You start ruling, not over others, over self, over instinct, over story, over all the versions of you that were willing to break just to be accepted. That's done now. Now you remember who you are. And the world will feel it. Not because you said it, but because you stopped flinching. Most people will spend their entire lives searching for something they already possess. They will chase love to feel valid. They will chase power to feel seen. They will chase perfection to feel enough. And yet none of it will satisfy. None of it will stick. because you can never outrun the void created by forgetting your own worth. Self-worth is not a reward. It is not something you earn by being agreeable. It is not granted by the approval of others. It is not found in titles, followers, or paychecks. It is not something the world gives you when you finally become perfect. It is the quiet knowing that you were enough the moment you arrived. But the world didn't teach you that. The world taught you that your worth is conditional, that you are only as valuable as you are useful, that your worth depends on how little space you take up, on how easy you are to like, on how much you give before asking for anything in return. It taught you to make yourself small so others could feel big, to say yes when you meant no, to smile when you wanted to scream, to stay when your soul begged you to leave. And you did it. You betrayed yourself over and over for a seat at tables where your voice was never welcome. But you're not here to be welcome, you're here to be whole. And wholeness requires war. A war against the lies you were taught. A war against the identity you constructed to survive. A war against the parts of you that believe love must be earned through suffering. This is the battlefield of self-worth. It doesn't look like glory. It looks like quiet defiance, like saying no and letting the chips fall where they may, like walking away from validation and into solitude, like choosing yours especially when it costs you connection. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And he was right, because when you accept yourself completely, you have nothing left to negotiate with. You become unbribable, uncooperative with systems that profit from your self-rejection. And that makes you dangerous, not to the world, but to every lie the world ever told you. You don't become powerful by being loved. You become powerful by loving yourself so thoroughly that no one's love can be used against you. That is the truth about self-worth. It is not a feeling, it is a foundation. And most people never build it. They patch over the cracks with productivity, with people-pleasing, with performance. But the cracks remain, and the house falls again and again every time someone disapproves, every time love is withdrawn, every time the applause fades. But not you, not anymore. You are not patching over. You are tearing down the false foundation and building a new one from bedrock. And that means facing everything you've been running from. The shame, the unworthiness, the fear of being unlovable. You don't affirm over it. You face it. You sit with the parts of you that ache and tremble and believe they are too much, too broken, too loud, too soft. And you say, "You belong. I will not exile you. I will not abandon you to be loved by others. I will not betray you to gain acceptance. I choose you." That is the birth of self-worth. It is not found in success. It is found in sovereignty. It is found in the moment you decide to stop living like a product and start living like a person. You are not a brand. You are not a role. You are not a mirror for other people's projections. You are a soul, and that is enough. But to live like it, you must walk away from anyone who makes you feel like you have to earn your place. From any job, relationship, community, or belief system that thrives on your insecurity. You must walk away from the comfort of being liked and into the fire of being yourself. And yes, it will burn. But what's burning is not you. It's the false self, the mask, the conditioning, the cage. What's burning is the version of you that was never yours to begin with. And in those ashes, something unshakable is born. What is born from those ashes is not a new persona. It's not a stronger mask. It's the original you, the one before the compromise, before the conditioning, before the fracture. The you that didn't need validation to feel alive. The you that didn't measure worth through comparison. The you that could exist fully, boldly, unapologetically, before the world taught you to shrink. And when that self rises, even if only in fragments at first, it comes with a truth so deep, so rooted, so immune to noise that the world begins to change around you. Because self-worth is not quiet. It doesn't beg. It doesn't whisper. It's the roar beneath your stillness, the gravity in your gaze, the way you move without explanation, the way you say no without apology, the way you walk away from what once broke you with peace. When you have self-worth, you stop negotiating with your own boundaries. You stop over-explaining your choices to people who never had to explain theirs to you. You stop seeking fairness from those who only benefited from your silence. You stop pleading for people who would not hand you a bandage. And most of all, you stop asking permission to exist fully. This shift is seismic. It alters everything. Your relationships recalibrate. Your standards rise. Your energy becomes precise, exacting, sovereign. You realize you no longer have to fight for scraps of connection, that you don't have to work to be chosen, that your presence is the gift, not the cost. You become the chooser, not from bitterness, but from clarity. You see now that not everyone deserves access, not because you're better, but because your worth is no longer up for auction. This is syphoria, the ecstatic state of being fully integrated, of knowing that you are not missing anything, that there's nothing to perform, nothing to fix, nothing to prove. It's the death of the proving self and the birth of the becoming self. Because self-worth doesn't mean you think you're perfect. It means you've made peace with your imperfections. It means you've faced the ugliest parts of yourself and decided to love them anyway. You are no longer at war with your shadow. You have welcomed it home. And this is what makes you powerful. Because no one can use your flaws against you once you've owned them. No one can guilt you into submission when you've forgiven yourself. No one can dangle love like a carrot when you've become the source of it. This is the liberation that terrifies those still trapped in performance. You are no longer chasing worth, you are living from it. And when you live from worth, the world has to meet you differently. It either rises to meet your standard or it falls away. You don't chase, you don't cling, you don't convince. You simply be and allow the aligned to find you. This is the quiet power of self-worth. It's not loud, it's not thirsty, it doesn't demand to be seen. It radiates, it whispers through every boundary you set, every moment you choose rest, every time you say no and refuse to explain. It moves through your spine, through your silence, through your sacred refusal to shrink one more day. You become a mirror, and people will either recognize themselves in you or see everything they've been avoiding. But that's not your job to manage. Your job is to stay rooted in truth, to keep choosing yourself, to keep returning to the knowing that you are whole even when others project their fracture onto you. You are not here to carry their stories. You are here to embody your own. And when you fully embody your own story without censoring, without packaging, without polishing it for public comfort, something extraordinary happens. You stop asking the world to mirror back your worth because you've already seen it in your own eyes. That look in the mirror no longer searches for flaws. It no longer questions if you're too much. It no longer negotiates with shame. It sees, it remembers, it knows. You know that you were never too much. You were just too alive for people who forgot how to breathe. You were never too sensitive. You were just born with antennas that pick up truths others can't handle. You were never too loud. Your voice simply echoed in rooms too small for your frequency. And now that you've stopped asking the wrong people to understand you, you finally have space to understand yourself. That is where clarity begins, not in answers, but in refusal. Refusal to be available to what dishonors you. Refusal to apologize for what your spirit naturally radiates. Refusal to continue outsourcing your identity to those who are still lost in theirs. Because real clarity is not found in someone else's permission. It's found in your own defiance. And once you're clear, you move different. You don't rush. You don't panic. You don't try to fill the silence. You let life come to you, not because you're passive, but because you've learned the art of attraction through authenticity. When your internal world aligns, the external world reorganizes. People leave. Bless them. Chapters end. Honor them. Pain rises. Transmute it. You are no longer controlled by your past. You are no longer repeating inherited beliefs. You are no longer running on default. You are choosing now. Choosing your path. Choosing your pace. Choosing your worth not based on comparison, but on core essence. And that essence, it is unshakable because it was never built on external validation. It was carved in solitude. It was tested in silence. It was forged through every moment you sat with your pain and didn't flinch. And now, your belief is no longer theoretical. It's embodied. Your confidence no longer needs to shout. It's felt. Your peace no longer waits for permission. It is the permission. This is self-worth. Not the kind they sell in books with step-by-step formulas, but the kind you build in the dark, brick by bloody brick, until your soul stands tall. The kind you become when there's no one left to impress. When the mask is off, when the pretending stops. And what's left is truth, raw, unapologetic, whole. You. And now you stand not as someone who was fixed, but as someone who remembered. Someone who peeled back the layers of programming, silence, and shame, and uncovered something terrifyingly powerful underneath. Your original self. Not the one that begged, not the one that bent, the one that stood. And in that standing, you became a signal, a vibration, a reminder to the world. It is possible to live unbent. It is possible to exist in full truth. It is possible to love yourself without needing permission. You no longer fear rejection because rejection is just a filter. You no longer fear failure because failure is just feedback. You no longer fear being alone because now you know the deepest loneliness was never the absence of others. It was the absence of you. But now you are here, fully, fiercely, finally. And everything changes. You don't move faster. You move clearer. You don't try harder. You move cleaner. You don't say more. You speak truer. This is what it means to live from self-worth. It's not about feeling good all the time. It's about honoring yourself even when you don't. It's about being faithful to your truth, especially when it's inconvenient. It's about no longer asking small minds to understand your vastness. You were not made to fit their boxes. You were made to break them. And now that you have, there's no going back. You are not here to be palatable. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be real, to live, to shake the system, to walk in such wild self-respect that the world has no choice but to either evolve with you or exit. You will lose people. Let them go. You will outgrow identities. Let them die. You will disappoint expectations. Let them burn. Because what you are gaining in return is everything. Peace that doesn't wobble when criticized. Power that doesn't need to dominate. Joy that isn't conditional on performance. This is your arrival, your return, your reclamation. Not of something new, but of something ancient. You, the real you, the you who knows, I am enough. I am whole. I am home. No one can take that from you. because it was never given to you by the world. It was yours all along.